ask yourself when you leave the home, but imagine that you're in a shower, there's this beautiful, refreshing, cool water coming down, almost like the giggle of a child. Cool, refreshing water, and it feels good on your body, and the bathroom, it's called a restroom for a reason. It's like you don't have to listen to, bakwas from people when you go to the bathroom and stuff like that. So you're there in the bathroom, in the shower, and you're enjoying your time and so on, and then all of a sudden, you find that the water has started to pile up. It's started to back. It's starting to get backed up. So you look down, and you notice that there's a really small piece of soap, a little nunu soap. One of those ones that kind of like you discarded, you weren't paying attention to. The soap has slipped from the ledge and has gone down into the water. It's with the pull of the water, the pull of the bathtub, that soap has gone to the drain, but it's not meant to be there. Even the drain wasn't meant to hold it. And so the soap just lodges there, and the water gets piled up. What would you do? What would you do? I think it's obvious, right? You would bend down, you'd pick up the soap, and you would put it back on the ledge of patience, wouldn't you? You'd be patient. Even though it's being pulled in that direction, naturally it's being pulled, and that's fine. But if you don't move it from that position, the water is going to pile up until it overflows from the bathtub, which is not what you want, and it doesn't benefit anybody. What you need to do, I think you'll agree, is take that bar soap, that tiny bar soap, pick it up and put it back on the ledge of patience. All right. What to do from the perspective of the mother and father? I'll start with this quote. The sister says, "My mom took it hard when my baby brother died. He was 11 days old when he passed away. Many Muslim people told her that she shouldn't cry and it's from Allah and she should have Iman, probably not knowing exactly what that means. She was given faulty advice from many people and she linked insensitivity to Islam. I think she needs to understand that it's okay to grieve, but to also understand what being patient in that time, as well as turning to Allah, can do for a person. This is an awesome topic, and I hope that my mother can benefit from it." Okay, so what you would experience, before I explain what the feelings that a person might go through during this period of grieving, I want to give you this a really quick example of spiders. Spiders, if you have a spider that's here in Canada, it weaves a web, okay? And it's a very specific type of web. If you studied the web, there's a certain way that the spider takes the web. If you find a spider in China, Chinese spider, same spider, same species, and it's in China, what kind of web will it spin? It will spin the exact type of web, even though it's in China, and it speaks Chinese. It will still spin the exact web. Why are they, do they go to spider school? Where somebody taught them how to weave the web? No. Who taught them to weave the web like this? That little spider, who taught them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. Allah inspired the bee. All these creations of Allah, they've been inspired. And they act in certain ways. Here's the thing. You as a human being, you're like these Chinese spiders. You're a human being. You come built with software. You're created with software. Your emotions that you're feeling are programmed into you. And so the feelings that you'll feel, once I start explaining these feelings, you'll say, "Oh, I felt that. Oh, I felt that too. I know somebody who felt that." You'll start to see that we're human beings. We're spiders in China. Or in this case, we're in Canada or wherever you are. And these are the feelings that you're going to feel. This is the natural pull of the water, which is fine. But we don't want to live our lives there, inshallah. So the first thing that you may experience, firstly, is sadness or frowning or low mood. Or a person, like their mood is down or they're frowning. An example of this, when we get confused or we've lost something, example of this is the Prophet ﷺ, when Ja'far radiallahu anhu had been killed shaheed, Abdullah ibn Rawaha, and Zayd radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, when they were killed shaheed in the Battle of Mu'tah, Aisha radiallahu anha said, you could see the sadness in the face of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's one stage, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt it, where the sadness can, tangibly be seen in a person's face, their mood going down. Secondly another feeling that you might feel is confusion or disorientation. Confusion where a person, just doesn't know what's going on. There's a disorientation. And sometimes that when a person does get disoriented like that, that's what I was talking about, like with it spinning out of control, that they need to be grounded. And that's where it's essential that somebody be by their side and ground them, even though they might not be saying the right things or so on. Islam doesn't say ignore them. Islam says to be by their side, remind them, and keep them grounded, inshallah ta'ala. There was a brother who's, when his son died, at 1 week, 7 days, his son passed away, and he said that Islam is the only thing that kept my wife's sanity in the immediate days after our son's death. In other words, that it is Islam, but in this case, alhamdulillah, they lived in a good community, but you need Islam, you need that community, you need that support when that's the emotion that you're feeling, the emotion of confusion and disorientation. The next emotion is anger or irritability, where a person is just lashing out at people who've been through this. And you'll see this example when the Prophet ﷺ, a woman's son passed away, and the Prophet ﷺ told her to be patient, and she responded by saying, "Ilayka anni." She said, "Get lost." She said this to the Prophet ﷺ, like, "Get away from me because you haven't been tested with what I've been tested with." Which is a stage of grief where a person is responding with anger or irritability. But interestingly, even in this case, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. He told that woman later, he didn't say anything when she said that, and she responded like that, which is another sign we see from the Prophet ﷺ. If someone responds to you with anger, he told them to be patient, and they hit back with anger and they lash at you, don't speak. Don't get into a fight with them. So if this is a husband telling his wife, be patient, and she just gets angry, he doesn't realize, what they're going through. Keep quiet. When they've calmed down, maybe say it again. Be patient and seek for the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She came later, this woman who said this to the Prophet ﷺ, she came later to his home to apologize, and the Prophet ﷺ said to her, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. That sabr, patience, is indeed patient when you're first hit with the calamity. Meaning that if someone comes 3 years later and then they're like, okay, now I'm patient. That's not patience in the definition of patience. Patience is when the calamity hits, that's when the person exercises their patience. The next emotion the person might feel is guilt. They start feeling guilty, especially in the case of miscarriages. Women might be saying things like, did I cause the death of my child? So you're saying maybe I shouldn't have, exercised so much, or maybe I should have exercised more, or maybe I shouldn't have gone out to that house, or maybe I should have stayed home more, and so on. So all of these if only I did this, if only I did it, and the guilt, even where a person says, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is punishing me, maybe I'm not a good Muslim, therefore Allah wants to punish me by taking my children away, and so on. So the guilt factor, just to respond to it quickly, is that statement of, if only I had done such and such, has no basis in Islam. You just don't go down that direction. So if you ever hear a person, or even for yourself, you start thinking thoughts of, if only I had done this, Prophet ﷺ says, just don't talk. There's nothing you could have done to stop it. So you say instead, قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلْ. This is the decree of Allah, and whatever Allah wishes, He does. It's the decree of Allah. So don't say if I did this, and don't say if I done that, just stop it. قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلْ. If only the doctors had done this, if only we had gone to the hospital earlier, if only, a person doesn't use that type of language. The other thing is that if a person thinks that it's because I'm a bad Muslim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took my child. Here's the thing, that if a child is lost, it doesn't mean that the person is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like punishing them. The Prophet ﷺ's children, all of his children passed away in his lifetime, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In his life, except Fatima radiallahu anha, every child of the Prophet ﷺ he buried, and he was better than you, and yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him with what he was tested with. The next feeling is a feeling that is kind of a weird word. It's called anhedonia. Does anybody know what anhedonia is? Anhedonia? You know what it is? Good for you. Anhedonia, I didn't even know what it is, but I looked it up. Anhedonia is a lack of pleasure or the ability to experience it. a lack of pleasure, or the ability to experience it. This one here is something that will happen a lot, where a woman loses a child.